Coming up, I'll be speaking with Professor Adil Ozdemir and Erika Thorne about the upcoming conference at the University of St. Thomas about nonviolence in the Islamic traditions. That's next on the St. Paul Forum. Welcome to the St. Paul Forum. I'm John Forde. Today we're going to be talking about an upcoming conference at the University of St. Thomas about nonviolence in the Islamic traditions. With me today are Professor Adil Ozdemir and Erika Thorne. Welcome.
Thank you.
Erika, let's start with you. How did you get to this place in your life? You're here in the Twin Cities. Were you born here?
I was not. I was born outside of a town of 1,000 people in Iowa, and I came here to have the honor, actually, of being the managing director of Friends for a Nonviolent World, which is a small nonprofit. It's Minnesota-based, Quaker-inspired, we call it, and our purpose is to increase people's understanding of nonviolence, both as an ethical stand and as a strategy for honoring human dignity, for ensuring freedom. And a strategy, very importantly in today's world, a strategy that's an alternative to war and violence as a way to bring people freedom and dignity. We've been committed to that for 30 years. This is our 30-year anniversary. And so to co-sponsor with the University of St. Thomas a conference right now at this point in our global history on nonviolence in the Islamic traditions, we felt was just critical, because there's so much that many non-Muslim United States residents do not understand about Islam. And I'm afraid that what I see is some real stereotyping and fear-mongering about Islam and about Muslims. And I think it's really important for people of all beliefs to stand against that. And this is part of our way of taking that stand and saying there's lots to learn about Islam, and it is not being taught very well by the nightly news.
Okay. This is your last few seconds before I introduce Professor Ozdemir. How long have you known this guy?
Since, well, about 1 year.
Okay.
We've been planning the conference about a year and a half, and that's when you first started with us, Dr. Ozdemir, and then I met you about a year ago at the Muslim Christian Dialogue Center, in fact.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Professor Ozdemir, welcome.
Thank you.
And you came here from Turkey, correct?
Right.
Was there stops along the way, or you were born in Turkey?
I was born in Turkey, on the southeastern part of Turkey, known Gaziantep, which is an hour to Antioch, that these people would know. So I was born there. This city is known for its ancient history. The oldest excavations are carried out, and the baklava, that's the hometown.
Oh, really?
The best baklava is produced in my hometown, I'm proud of. And that's known for the best food, this town.
And you were probably aware of that at the age of 7 or 8. When did you become inspired to become a religious scholar?
Actually, my father took me to a religious school. It's a public religious school, and established in 1950s to educate enlightened personnel in religion. So the schools, they taught positive sciences, literature, sciences, as well as religion, so that they both should go together. This is the kind of education I got, 7 years. And then I followed up this to the undergraduate work. I intensified my work in religious disciplines. And then I was served as an imam for 4 years in the city I was born. I grew up. And then I moved to my university that I got my education and served there 26 years as a professor of Arabic rhetoric and the rhetoric of the Quran. That was my specialty. I did my PhD in Cairo, Egypt for a year, studying there, and also 1 year at Harvard Divinity School in '85, comparative religion. And then I taught and had conversations with 7 UCC seminaries in America. This was 1995. And 2003, I came to Bangor, Maine, theological school. I taught graduate work there for a year. And in 2004, I joined St. Thomas, and the 7 years, I've been teaching Islam, introduction to Islam, to the American students, Christians, and also co-directing Muslim Christian Dialogue Center at the University of St. Thomas.
Okay, good. All right. Now, one of the things we're going to go over in this half-hour, 28-minute show is some of the scary words that I think the media stigmatizes, but you were educated. Could you call that school a madrasa?
No, this is a modern school.
Okay.
And these schools were established in modern time in the Republic of Turkey. And this is, madrasas were actually the ancient universities in the Islamic history. That was the normal school education system. Madrasas were the universities of the time. But with the Republic of Turkey, we moved to establish modern schools with Latin alphabet. It's a new school, so we are teaching religion, learning religion in completely a new setting with the modern concepts, totally modern premises, modern parameters. This is different. The subject matter is the same. We study religion. They educated great scholars, and we are trying to catch up with the same thing in modern times.
So the word madrasa then, my more enlightened friends have said, basically it just means school,
Exactly.
and it's not so scary.
It's madrasa means school. It's the where you learn.
Okay. One more thing about Turkey before we even get here to University of St. Thomas. It's really quite a pluralistic society, isn't it?
Turkey is a pluralistic society. It's considered mainly as a bridge between the East and the West. And actually it connects the Asia with Europe. We have the bridges. We are building more and more bridges. Okay. Turkey itself is considered as a bridge, not only geographically, but also strategically and also culturally. We have been, at the crossroads of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And people from the Central Asia, they moved on their way to the West. So we have been always on the crossroads of cultures and civilizations. So Anatolia is considered the cradle of civilizations. That's where Muslims, Christians, Jews, they coexisted. They lived together at least, last 1,000 years. So when you visit any part of Turkey, not only Istanbul, you will see synagogues and churches and mosques stand side by side. And there have been a very peaceful coexistence over the last 1,000 years. And probably people don't know much about that. Okay. And that was something that amazed my students. I take also J-term every year, my students. And this time was my 3rd time actually, and that's what they witnessed. And wow, they said, this is incredible. I mean, how could churches and mosques and synagogues, they could just stood together side by side, and the Jews and Christians and Muslims coexisted so peacefully.
It's a fine model for all of us, I would think. Let's transition a little bit to talk about the upcoming conference. How long has this been in the planning, and what inspired it?
Well, this is the second in a series of conferences that Friends for a Nonviolent World is producing with different co-sponsors, this one with University of St. Thomas. The first one was Nonviolence in the Christian Tradition, and that was on Halloween Day of 2009. And then we were going to do the Nonviolence in the Islamic Traditions in the year 2010. But when we began to connect with people like Dr. Ozdemir, with people from the range of Muslim communities here in this region, of which there are many, we realized we needed, in order to do this topic justice, and in order to reach the goals of our conference, to be able to truly bring together people across what are supposed to be barriers, but they don't have to be barriers, that we needed to give it more time. So instead of trying to have the conference last October, we settled on this time in April. And the purpose in the whole series, and most definitely for this one, is really literally to lift up the profound existence of nonviolence in every faith, tradition, and in every system of belief. We feel at FNVW that that's an inherent part of what makes us human beings, is actually the predilection for nonviolence, for connection, for communication. And so we think this is an excellent time to really lift up those traditions wherever we can. And both fortunately and unfortunately, it's a good time for this conference because of the tremendously inspiring people's movements, largely nonviolent, that are taking place in the so-called Middle East, in Arab countries and Muslim-majority countries. And then it's also an excellent time for the conference for more difficult reasons, such as the tremendous negative reaction to the idea of not even a mosque, a Muslim community center in Manhattan, 4 blocks from what is called Ground Zero. The tremendously negative and fear-based response that came from that. So for both those reasons, because in the world these movements are happening and they're very important to us, and for the reason that here in the United States it's necessary for us to have a clearer and better understanding of Islam. That's what led us both to do this particular conference and to give ourselves enough time to do it well.
Now, in any conference like this, the participants come away changed to some extent.
We hope.
To what extent is the focus of this conference to change the community through outreach and really to expand educational ideas to those who were not actually physically there?
Yes, what a great question, and we have two wonderful answers to that. One is that Friends for a Nonviolent World has designated the entire year 2011, which does happen to be our 30th year, and it is the 10-year anniversary of the September 2010, the September 11 disasters. And so this entire year we'll be building on the people that we're bringing together in the conferences, the ideas, the possibilities that open up as a result of bringing people together for an intensive day like this, so that in our metro region here, we can continue to have smaller events, we can continue to have dialogues, most importantly, we can work on what can be the social change, whether that be policy kind of change in the government area or social change here among our communities. What are the ways that we can be building those ties and instead of separating from each other, find out what are our common interests and how do we work together for them. So our whole year is devoted to that at FNVW, as well as our other terrific programs. We do wonderful things, but in terms of this foreign policy and peace education and advocacy, this is where we're focusing.
It seems like so much of the Christian community, or the just traditional American culture, has a fear of Islam, and I think that they see it as quite monolithic. During the conference, we'll be discussing the difference between Algerian Islam versus Turkish versus Indonesia. I mean, to see that as multifaceted, it really humanizes it. It seems.
I think
And that's not really a question, I know.
Yes, but I think Dr. Ozdemir is the one to speak to it.
We have a tendency, a human tendency, to be scared of something that we don't know. Well, that's something, a common human thing. We see Islam from insiders, as an imam, as a scholar, as a student, as a participant of this faith. We see Islam from within as the religion of peace and as the religion of unity. That's the name of religion itself. Tawheed is unity. That's at the center of this faith. So it is to realize that unity as much as possible in the entire world. So Islam has this unity that it came to achieve, the possible unity, but the only way it thought that the only way to achieve that unity is to preserve diversity. The more you tolerate diversity, the better you can achieve that unity. That's what we have Islam with this enormous diversity. Cultural diversity, linguistic diversity. We have diversity, theological diversity. We have legal diversity. We have mystical diversity. Islam is so diverse, and that diversity allowed and ensured the Muslim world continue the last 15 centuries from all around the world, from India to now to Europe, to Africa, to Asia.
Many seeds, many places.
Exactly.
Yes. Just to help the audience at home and to help me, because I don't really understand either, can we talk a little bit about the theological schism between the Shia and the Sunni? It's so central.
That's actually, when the Prophet was alive, there was this, of course, unity, and that's the core community, ideal community, the golden generation. But when, as a prophet and also as the leader, he was everything, so the source. But when he left, the first question was how to lead the community. And so that was a political question. And so that's where the seeds of this political diversity begins. Sunnis and Shiites, that's where it was a political question. Because for Islam, it's the society. The order, the peace in the society was foremost. Even the leaders, after the Prophet, his companions, they gathered together to settle this issue of the community prior to his burial. He was even in his house. His close family were busy with preparing the funeral. The people were settling, although, they were settling the issue of the leadership because the society was so important. But who will be the leader? Would the leader be from the household of the Prophet, someone from his blood lineage, or would it be left to the community, the larger community? And so the majority of Muslims in the following centuries, which is called the Sunnite world, 90% of Muslims are Sunnis. They said it's the community. The Prophet did not teach anything precisely about who will be the leaders. The community will decide. But some members of the society, from the lineage of the Prophet, the son-in-law was being the first leader, was Khalifa, and they thought that the leadership should belong to the family of the Prophet. So they remain as a kind of very small minority idea, but that's all again coming to the political difference, how to lead, who will be the leaders, and also the nature of the leadership. Would the leader be of a spiritually also the person of spiritual power as well as political, or simply political? Sunnite world majority said the leader should not be the spiritual leader. The spirituality belongs to the community. But the Shiites said no, the imam should have in himself both spiritual power as well as political power. So that's the issue that went on, and still it continues
This is so interesting, and it's
Yeah.
hard to believe we're already 2/3 of our time is gone. So we need to use what we have left. And I want to talk about the conference specifically the last 4 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
There's one more issue I wanted to bring up, and that is the conflict between Christianity and religion, or at least the tension between the two. Could it be in part because of the 5 great largest religions of the world? They are the most similar. They are the only 2 that are both monotheistic and believe in the hereafter. Is that similarity create some tension?
Actually, Islam is at the end of the monotheistic traditions, Judaism and Christianity, and then after 6 centuries, Islam came. So Islam came to, it's very clear in the Quran, it's to confirm what was already there. Islam confirmed and continued that tradition of monotheism.
And I think most people who are, deeply involved in religious conflict think that it's not to confirm, it's contradict. But
It's just similar to what Jesus said. I came not to cancel and abolish, but to fulfill the law. The same very thing that the Quran over and over again repeats. Quran came to tasdeeq, that's the Arabic Quranic term, to endorse what was already there, to confirm. And so Jesus and Moses, they are our, Islamic, in the household of Islam. They live on, they continue in the Islamic household. So we revere, Muslims revere Jesus and Mary, and we honor Moses and all the biblical prophets and biblical scriptures. Muslims, they just hold them in reverence, just as much as the Quran is.
Very interesting. I think we should talk some specifically about the conference. There will be breakout sessions, I assume, and a keynote. What can you tell us about it?
Yes, it's going to be a terrific conference. And, I have to say, I'm an activist, as Dr. Ozdemir and I were talking about as we came here. He's the scholar, I'm the activist. And conferences are not necessarily my cup of tea, but this is a great conference. I would come even if I weren't organizing it. And for several reasons. One is we have people such as Dr. Ozdemir, 2 out-of-town speakers in addition, Afra Jalabi, an Arab-Canadian feminist and scholar, and Dr. Yahya Mishot from Connecticut. He's now in Connecticut. And they will be speaking, as Dr. Ozdemir has, about Islam theologically, the texts, the writings of the Prophet, and what is there, where is the nonviolent thread and fabric through all of that. And then we're going to have an afternoon of activists, people who right now are on the ground in Muslim majority countries or in an Islamic context, doing nonviolent action for progressive social change. So in the afternoon will be the folks who are there in Mindanao, Philippines, who are there in Iraq, the Muslim peacemaking team, who have been there in Egypt and some of the other the other recent uprisings. And so, what democracy looks like in terms of nonviolence and Islam is what we will have an abundance of in the afternoon. And that will also include Dr. Fatma Reda, who is local in the local Lebanese community here, and a number of other folks that you may or may not know. There will be a keynote speech in between those two, the just after lunch speech. Up until Friday, we were honored and delighted to have Representative Keith Ellison, who actually is my representative, the first Muslim elected to the U.S. Congress. He was planning on being the keynote. His schedule changed, which is always the danger you have. With great regret, he had to cancel. So we will be having someone, we're entertaining a couple of different options, of someone who can speak to the political climate today. What is going on globally and nationally today that is hooked up with nonviolence and Islam? So everything from Egypt and Libya to the political climate here in this country, and who is stoking these fires of fear and why. So those will be the kinds of things that will be talked about there. And then for the wonderful conclusion of this conference, there's the regional premiere of a new film called The Frontier Gandhi. Badshah Khan, A Torch for Peace. And Badshah Khan is somebody who was born in the Pashtun region of Afghanistan, which even now is thought to be a very warlike, violent-ridden tribal people. Those kinds of, catchwords are always applied lately to the Pashtun region. He was born and of that region, and he was moved to nonviolence by his study of the Quran and by his own prayer. And he amassed a force of 100,000 people, mostly Muslims, in what used to be India under the British colonial rule, so what they call pre-partition India. And he worked side by side with Mahatma Gandhi, who many more people are familiar with. Gandhi actually said, he didn't say exactly these words, but in essence, I am learning from Badshah Khan because he comes from a people who have great courage and who need to do a great deal of spiritual practice to be able to step away from violence, to realize that their best, how they can best advance themselves, their people, and their spirituality is through nonviolence. So together, they were able to throw off the yoke of British colonialism. And I'm telling you, that was a brutal colonial rule. And so Badshah Khan is now featured in this 92-minute movie by a United States filmmaker, Terry McLuhan, who worked for 21 years to put this film together. So it is thrilling. It's an excellent film, and that'll be our closing. 4:30, we'll have question and answer with Terry. We'll see the film, and she will continue speaking about it afterwards. So 9:30 is registration in the morning at the OEC Auditorium in St. Thomas. And 6:30, we'll be going till 6:30 with a delicious lunch.
Okay, good. We have about just a little over 2 minutes left. I'm going to make it real quick. About 1 minute on the organizations that will be sustaining this work after the conference.
Well, it will be Friends for a Nonviolent World. We haven't yet sat down with the Muslim Christian Dialogue Center, but I know that there will be connections there.
Yeah, the Muslim Christian Dialogue Center is established to foster understanding and dialogue, Muslim Christian dialogue specifically, but also in general, understanding, interreligious understanding, and to help remove the prejudices and misunderstandings. This is we are seeking knowledge, the true knowledge. We are seeking truth, that our lives are depend. So we need the knowledge, the true knowledge, and so that this is actually what Islam is based on, knowledge that we are seeking. With knowledge, we will overcome all the misunderstandings and we can build bridges. That's what we are for, building bridges. This is the dialogue is all about, and get rid of our fears and based on misunderstandings and ignorance. So Islam came to eliminate the ignorance. That's Asr al-Jahili, the age of ignorance, and with knowledge, the violence was overcome. Islam came to a violent society of 7th century Arabia, and that's what Islam brought, peace with all this knowledge. And we have so much to learn through this conference about Islam from the Muslims themselves. And we have heard so much about Islam from outsiders.
Yes.
That's respectful, but this is a golden opportunity that we can learn about Islam in a society of enlightenment, in a society of education. We can learn about Islam from inside.
We're just about out of time, so just the conference is coming up Saturday, April 9th at the University of St. Thomas, and is there a website they can learn more?
Yes, www.fnvw.org.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Erika Thorne and Professor Adil Ozdemir.
Pleasure.
Thank you for joining us on the forum. Join us again next week. Thank you.